I see the offering stop. It just completely stops in the river. And then I see something claw and grab and bring it down.
Hey guys, and welcome back to the third place, and today's video we have a banger mermaid encounter. All right, and this is actually one of my favorites. This is one of my favorite encounters that I have heard thus far, like when trawling the internet for stories. In case you are new to my channel, my name is Rosie and I am a water-coded mystic and an embodied Axis Mundi, amongst other things, meaning I have a very deep connection with the water. I get downloads, and I personally love to deep dive into real aquatic encounters because I do believe that these are real beings. And thanks to things like TikTok and social media, loads of people are talking about their experiences online, and I am finding the ones that really hit to me that, yeah, I feel like that this is a real thing. And I put them out here, and then we decode them together, or we just listen to the stories. So if you are here to just hear the story, let's listen to the story. And if not, and if you are also here to deep dive into the consciousness aspect and just how this can be real and the ways that we can look at it, then stick around for that too. In today's video, we are going to be watching the video of a lovely lady that goes by the name of Chidi. Now, Chidi is a, I think I said that correctly. I'm sorry if I didn't. And what that is, when it's at home, is it is basically the name for a water priestess in some of the West African ancestral traditions. And in this story, all right, and this is such a gem, the way I found it on my FYP, like I was like living my best life, because it's just so like, people need to go and watch her video because it doesn't have as many interactions as I think it deserves, considering I think this is a very real encounter. Now, what makes this encounter different is that this is a very spiritual encounter, and I think that this is showing some of the aquatics that I perceive are very real, that are more of, I don't want to say non-corporeal, but they are not kind of like, they are more of the, I would like to say, the spiritual versions that we speak about. Let's just get into the video. Let's watch the video, and then we'll come back at the end and we'll deconstruct. So, roll tape.
Hey, it's Chidi, your resident Ezewine Millie and modern day DB of Millie, and this is my story about how I saw mermaids. How it started. So I had a client that needed water rituals done, and when I was doing divinations, I was told to go exactly at 9 a.m. on a certain Friday morning. Now, mind you, it's the river, it's cold, it's the morning time, so I'm like, hold up, wait a minute. But my spirits were very adamant about it needing to be 9 a.m. on this Friday morning. So I said, okay, let's do it. So while I'm doing my water rituals and I'm giving the offerings up to the water, I am watching everything go down. I am wrapping up everything, and then boom, I see the offering stop. It just completely stops in the river. And then I see something claw and grab and bring it down. And I saw a literal claw, like as big, if not bigger, than my face. And so I'm like, hold up, wait a minute. So at first I'm thinking that my mind is playing tricks on me. You know, it's very early in the morning, it's cold outside, and you're just ready to go home. You know, you finished your ritual, you're ready to go home. But then something tells me to look straight ahead. And when I look straight ahead, I see a figure kind of sitting very straight, very statured in the middle of the river. Now, if you know anything about rivers, you know the further inland of the river that you go, the crazier the waters, and you just don't want to be in there. So I'm wondering, how is this man just standing straight, not moving like he's fighting the current, like he's just there, right? Just there, like a statue, kind of even. So I'm kind of like, wait a minute, wait a minute. So then, as I'm focused on him, I start to hear something in my mind. Like I'm looking at him, but I'm hearing him in my mind. And when I focus more on him, I can start to see that he is black, he looks kind of like me. His skin tone is a little bit darker, but I start to also see that he is not a human. Okay, I start to see some things. Okay, I start to see where his torso kind of meets the water, and it's not legs. Okay, it ain't the legs. Again, I think my mind is playing tricks on me. I'm like, I this can't be what I think it is. This can't be what I think it is. And so, within my mind, I hear him say that the offering that I gave to the river, that I gave to the water, has been accepted. And I'm wondering though, because again, he's not the hand that I saw, the claw that I saw take the offering. So I'm kind of like, well, if you're right here, then what was over there? So then I look over to my right, and right beside me, very, very close, because at this point I'm starting to walk closer to the edge of the river. I see her. Okay? She has black skin like me. Her hair is very long, and when her hair reaches the water, it kind of camouflages into the water, and I can see her tail. She has a nice large tail that is very earthy in tone. It has nice brown hues, golden and brown, right? And I'm looking at her because she's very close to me. Now, if you know stories of Mami Watsa, of mermaid stories, you know that they take people. So I take a couple steps back because I know what this is. And as I'm taking my steps back from her, I start to see the man that's across from me. He starts to get closer as well. So then I start to see his tail. And I will tell you, both of them were very large, okay? A human, we might can get to 6-7 feet. They were large. When I start to see them, they're larger than I realized. Especially the woman, the mermaid, right? That's next to me. So I'm kind of trying not to spaz out because I feel like this is a test from spirit. Okay? And they very mundanely showed themselves to me in broad daylight. At this point in time, it's about 10:45-ish. I've been here since 9 a.m. at this river. So the ritual was going for a long time. And what I will say is when I saw both him and her, that they both were very beautiful. They probably could have taken me off. And they definitely had messages for me that was not communicated via moving lips. It was communicated telepathically. Now, if you know anything, again, about merfolk, is you have to be careful because they will tell you things and they could potentially take you. But don't worry. I took my steps back and I received the message, and then the mermaid left first and then the merman left last. Hey, it's Chidi, your resident as in Wine Millie and modern day Debia Millie. And honestly, when I experienced this and saw them, two mermaids by you, two, in the mundane, what was going through my mind was like this. I was definitely kind of like bewildered and shocked about what's going on. And throughout the day, especially because I had to do this morning ritual and then something at night as well, it didn't really hit me until I got home that night to be like, I actually saw two mundane physical, a mermaid and a merman. They both were just in my space. And honestly, going through my mind, I kind of was like, is this happening? But also very cautious, remember, because merfolk be taking people. So I was like, not on my watch. But also just very like, wow, this is happening. And when it comes to comparing and contrasting like their appearance versus how they're depicted in art and media, I obviously can see where some people might be a little bit more tapped into what merfolk actually give in the mundane, because I think of like the Little Mermaid live action for an example, right? I might put the little thing up here, and then I think about that show Sirens, and honestly, the way that Sirens, like that show, depicts merfolk, I think would be a better representation, just because they're beautiful, but they're also very aquatic in nature, that with their appearance and things. Um, and some of their some of their appearances, it doesn't have to necessarily look like as colorful like how we saw in Little Mermaid. Like it could just be like they're all the same color, blah blah blah, that type of thing as well. So the depictions definitely compare and contrast. And when it comes to the mundane, my bad, had to come back. But when it comes to their beauty, right? When it comes to their very mundane physical beauty, um, I don't necessarily think that the media and art can actually distinguish and replicate the beauty to a T. Because to me, when I looked at them in the mundane, I can definitely see why people get taken, why they follow them, why everything, because their appearance is so magnetic. It's so beautiful. It's ethereal. It's obviously not of this world, right? And you can't necessarily replicate that through TV and film, and sometimes through art. Like you can't necessarily replicate that. So, not to say that the people who play merfolk or who have drawn merfolk like that, they're ugly, right? Because they're not ugly, but they don't compare to the physical nature of merfolk. Like, if you thought that was a 10, right? You seeing merfolk in the mundane, you about to see that that's actually the 100 of the 10, like 1,100. Like it does not really compare. But I can see where they do get some depictions right, of course. But yeah, the beauty's out of this world for sure. Hey, it's Sheedy. Of course, I can answer this. This is fine. So honestly, the fact that they mundanely showed themselves to me, that in itself is a blessing. But the messages and advice that they kind of gave is usually pertaining to what I talk about on my page, usually about people returning to the water and really being in right relationship and community with the water. So some of the messages that they gave me was definitely more so in confirmation with what I have been trying to advise and tell people. But also, I had to take their appearance as well as a blessing, because the thing with merfolk is if they show themselves to you, it is very intentional. It is not a mistake if they show themselves to you in a mundane way. And there's many reasons for why they show themselves. So for me, because I didn't really feel obviously afraid or threatened with them. So for me, it just confirmed for me that I was more so in right relationship and doing the things that I'm supposed to do. And I think also it was another confirmation because that night when I went to sleep, they also appeared to me in my dream. So not only did they show me that they can manifest in the mundane physical, they also showed me that, as well in the dreamscape and the astral, right, that they can show themselves to me. But it was definitely a blessing to see them in the mundane. And the advice that they gave me, of course, pertains to everyone, especially water people, but returning to the water, because the water, she is calling her children home. So just confirmations across the board.
So welcome to the flip side of that video. Guys, if you are 10 toes down in this like this with me, you know that this is the business. She was telling the truth. She experienced this. I do not believe that this was a hallucination. I do not believe that this was just clickbait and that she's making this up. I believe that she genuinely experienced this. Her energy that she gives off is very authentic. She's a water priestess, so I'm not surprised that this happened to her, okay? But this kind of aquatic, there's not much for me to say in this breakdown, but I just want to say, like, there are many different types of aquatic beings, which is what I always say on this channel. We've got I like to call them aquatic / interdimensional beings, okay? And some of them have a very different flavor. Some of them might seem a bit like more foreboding, a bit stronger, a little bit more, a little bit whatever. But this to me is your stereotypical, almost like cosmic aquatic. Like, it makes me want to do my hands like that. Fluid. Because these beings seem to be the ones that we hear about in the sort of the spiritual circles, about the ones that are wanting people to, they don't want to be seen, right? They don't want to be disturbed. They don't want to become, they don't want to be come across, because they know that we as humans can be destructive and we can really kind of like go barging in and doing all sorts of nonsense. So they're very stepped back, but they're coming in with the information about look after the ocean, look after the waters, connect with the waters, because as I always say, as a water mystic as well, water is so important. Not the fact that we're just made up of 70% of water, all right? So it's incredibly important just for us to survive. The planet is majoritively made up of water, all right? But water in itself, all right, is, if anybody's ever seen Dr. Emoto's experiments, this is true. Water is like, records memory. Memory can be held in water. The water on this planet holds so much memory of everything that has been here. No matter how small it is, anything that's passed through water, the memory is there. So guys, speak your intention into your water before you drink it. If you want to pour some somewhere, if somewhere looks dry, speak intention into that. Pour it out onto the ground, all right? When you're in the bath, be aware, water is alive. Some people are going to poo-poo this, but water is conscious, all right? It holds memory, all right? So when they're talking about connect with water, it's not just about be nice to the water, even though that's good. It's like connect with water, because you are also connecting with all that is the planet, but also you connect to yourself. Symbolically, as a mystic, symbolism is very important, and water symbolizes the deep subconscious, all right? The fluidity as well of this reality, but the deep subconscious. And a lot of the narratives that we see in this reality and the things that we experience, our traumas, the things that people, they try to get us to believe when we be going external, when we should be going internal, are stored in our deep subconscious, our shadows. As we're healing, as we're trying to level up, get better, we are working through that. So water is very symbolically, symbiotically connected to that. So water is so important when we're being encouraged to connect to waters. But back to these beings, I would love to have seen these beings. Like, they are, the way she described them, they were black. All right. And if you watch Siren, I have, like, the way that I see it, I imagine the male aquatic being to have looked similar to the character of Levi. That show actually really was on point, as she goes on to say. There's a part 2 as well, which we'll go into. But also the size of them. This is not the first time I've heard mermaids or aquatics being large, not just regular sized, like 5'8" for a girl or something. No. Tony Woods, in his aquatic encounter, experienced what he considered, he said, about 10 to 12 feet long. There was a dude, I do not remember his name, one of these spiritual new age dudes, that him and a load of people saw mermaids in Hawaii, where they say the government knows, and there's a bit of land and it's completely cordoned off, or there's a bit of water because they know that they are there. And they saw one jump out, and they actually really did sound a lot like the Tony Woods ones. And Tony Woods was in the Seychelles, this was in Hawaii, and they were also about 10, 11 feet long. So this is what I'm imagining. But can you just imagine, 1 minute you're looking over there, then the next minute you just see this claw. Not to mention, you just see someone stand there, and she like she said, if anybody is unaware of what she was talking about, if you listen to Haitian stories, particularly, if you listen to any stories, they talk about mermaids loving to kidnap people. And people are like, oh my God, they get taken under the sea. How is that? Well, I've done a video explaining just how that works and what my theory is on that. So you can see that. But I just wanted to show this video because I absolutely love this. Please go and show her love. I'm going to put her, her details and stuff here. But this to me, this is 100% legit, 100% legit. And I reckon these are beings, when I'm hearing the story, that are, these are the ones that are more connected to spirituality, because there's so many different types of things and connections when it comes to water beings. And there are water beings that are more connected with these ancestral beliefs and religions purely because, all right, there is this, they have been connected to. So it's not that they are exclusive only to these traditions, but it's because these are traditions that were connecting to them. All right. And so there is lineage and there is history, but I like to call these the more like cosmic, like the more conscious, the more spiritual beings that are probably more connected with, like when people talk about Lyra and when people talk about very Sirius, and when you talk about the cosmic lineage, even though they may be more living in our dimension or able to phase in, they might not necessarily have been come from here. But let me know what you think of this video, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.